What's the myth?
Quite simply, it's that you can extinguish a fire using only the power of a human voice.
You're making that up.
I am not. It actually comes from an early 20th century naturalist named Charles Kellogg, who claimed far and wide that he could put out fires using only his voice.
And didn't he also invent cereal or something?
No, wrong guy.
Charles Kellogg, unlike the cereal guy, was a vocal genius. In the early 1900s, he traveled the states in a hollow redwood tree and wowed audiences with his bird impersonations, which could supposedly put out fires. He claimed he could do this not with his exhaled breath, but with the sound waves themselves. As sound travels through air, it creates pressure waves. These pressure waves can cause air molecules to vibrate, and if they vibrate enough, a flame can apparently be blown out.
Do we have a plan?
Well, I think we have a reasonable plan. Kellogg claimed he could put out a fire with his voice, and he demonstrated it. We should find out how, replicate that demonstration, and see what we get.
Okay.
Okay, so all they've got to do is replicate Kellogg's demonstration. But as the boys delve deeper, they realize it's more complex than that.
From the reading that I've done, it doesn't appear that he's like lighting a fire somewhere and then just singing it out. It seems to be a very specific thing called a sensitive flame.
A sensitive flame is a bit like a Bunsen burner, but thanks to a protective glass tube and a special latex diaphragm, the flame actually reacts to sound waves. It's vastly different from a regular fire, but because this is what Kellogg sang at, the first step for this myth is for Adam to build one of his own.
We got a sensitive flame! There's no way the air from my breath is affecting that flame inside the glass. We've got a sensitive flame.
Yeah! I think it's doing it over here as well.
You can clearly see the flame reacting to Jamie and Adam's voices.
Awesome.
But what exactly is going on?
What I have here are the rudiments of Kellogg's exact experimental setup for using his voice to extinguish fire. It consists of gas feeding into a chamber that has a membrane on it. And the membrane moves in relation to the sound in the room and affects the pressure of the fire. You can see as I'm talking, the fire is moving, and it doesn't have to do with my breath, it has to do with the sound of my voice.
With the so-called sensitive flame fired up, Adam's got a copy of a 1905 gramophone recording of Kellogg singing like a bird.
All right, here's a little history. Oh, his human voice was analyzed and found to be normal under 4,000 hertz. However, his bird voice soared into the inaudible above 14,000 hertz. His voice reputedly had a range of 12 1/2 octaves, while the normal range of a singing voice is just 2 1/2. We will see. Kellogg's bird voice is astonishing. I don't care whether he's whistling or grabbing his neck and doing this or whatever. That it comes out of a person is amazing.
The high-frequency bird voice makes the flame go ballistic, but extinguished it ain't.
That's kind of spooky, actually.
Isn't it? There's a specific, like, bird call of Kellogg's that makes the flame, I think, do the largest sort of differential dance, like bango, 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 like that. Is he saying red rum?
Despite their lack of success, all is not lost. It's possible that Adam's CD of a recording made over 100 years ago is simply not good enough quality.
I'm going to try to put this flame out using my dog voice.
So to keep testing this myth, the boys must come up with a way of replicating Kellogg's full vocal range before Adam goes barking mad.
No, my dog voice doesn't work.
Popular in the early 1900s, Charles Kellogg was a naturalist come showman with an extraordinary talent. Not only could he sing like a bird, but he could also supposedly extinguish a sensitive flame with his voice. But when the MythBusters tried to replicate this feat, they failed to douse anything. But in case the 100-year-old recording they used was of insufficient quality, they've now called in the big guns.
Hey, Roger.
Hey,
How you doing? Good to see you.
Come to help us do some detective work?
Yeah.
Sound engineer Roger has brought a tone generator to replicate the full vocal range of Kellogg's bird voice.
In Kellogg's day, this was the way that you generated a precise frequency. This is what they used to tune pianos and other things, I believe. Not that I've ever done it, but these days we have things called tone generators, and so we'll be able to get any frequency that we want within any conceivable range.
But before getting into a frequency frenzy, let's get a few things straight. Sound is vibrations traveling through the air in waves. Its frequency is a measure of how many times the sound wave vibrates in 1 second. The higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. Kellogg's bird voice could supposedly reach a barely audible frequency of 14,000 hertz, something that the tone generator can match.
I'd love to sweep all the way up through and into the inaudible range, because again, we keep on seeing in all the material Kellogg said that he thought it was the high frequency that affected the flame more than low frequency.
Roger cuts straight to the chase and tunes into 14,000 hertz, but the flame keeps burning bright.
So, work down?
So the team decides to change tactic and lower the frequency, and what do you know?
What? Oh, oh! Hey! What was that at?
At 166 hertz, the opposite end of the spectrum to Kellogg, and the sensitive flame does go silent. But Adam's not entirely satisfied.
This is a rig that utilizes fire, it's true, but I can put this fire out by doing that. That's the rig failing to maintain a fire. That's not a fire being extinguished. And I think that's a really key difference. What I'd like to do now that I've got all this equipment set up is just put a candle in front of the speaker and see what kind of responses I get out of it.
It's an ordinary household candle, about as simple as fire can get, and unlike the sensitive flame, has no special trappings to make it reactive to sound.
Ready?
What?
Yeah.
They start with high frequencies, but get nowhere fast.
No appreciable effect on the flame at all.
It's not until they lower the tone that they get the result they're after. So at low frequencies from a tone generator, a flame can be extinguished with sound. The low-pitched sound sends out a pressure wave which vibrates the air so much that the flame gets snuffed out.
My question now would be, could you and I replicate that with our voices? Can we pipe our voices through this thing?
Yeah.
So, can the human voice replicate this feat? Time to tackle this myth, karaoke style. Just like in real life, Adam is loud, but he's not very deep. And the candle keeps candling on.
That's as low as I can go.
Will Jamie be able to do any better?
Ladies and gentlemen, right now I'd like to bring up to the mic a very good old friend of mine, Mr. James Hyneman. James Hyneman, let's bring him on up. Come on.
Jamie's voice is lower and has more effect on the flame. But after a few bars, feedback starts interfering with the test.
I think we need more separation from between the microphone and the speaker.
So, like Jamie singing from the other room?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that.
Jamie resumes his performance from an impromptu sound booth.
Am I on?
Oh, yeah.
Jamie's dulcet tones ring out, but the candle keeps on keeping on.
Is that all the volume we've got?
Yeah.
In desperation, Jamie adopts the birthday cake approach.
That seems to be working.
But it doesn't look like he'll be getting his wish anytime soon.
Getting dizzy.
I feel like we can conclude from this that even the amplified human voice can't put out a naked flame.
So it would seem.
Jamie and Adam are trying to overturn conventional firefighting techniques by putting out fires with the human voice. But the results so far aren't about to set the world ablaze.
So where are we at with this myth?
Well, we have successfully demonstrated that we can put out a fire using a sound, but we have not demonstrated that a human voice can do it.
Doesn't that mean it's busted?
Not exactly. I mean, just because we can't do it doesn't mean it can't be done. Remember shattering a wine glass?
When Adam and Jamie tried to shatter a wine glass with their unamplified voices, they got nowhere fast.
Not surprisingly, I don't think I can do it.
It wasn't until they unleashed the power of rocker pro Jamie Vandera that they got their lucky break.
I think it's time to bring in some professionals.
Like some singers.
Exactly.
Cue local a cappella group Hookslide with their most bizarre gig to date.
All right, guys, so instead of entertaining crowds of people, it's a physics problem today.
Today's challenge is to extinguish a candle using their voices, with a little help from Roger.
Whenever you're ready, take it away and try and put out that candle.
Sure, they can hold a harmony, but are they firefighting material?
One of you hit a really specific note.
Once again, it's the low frequencies that have the most effect, so bassist Jonathan gets his chance for a solo. At first, even his lowest low doesn't work.
Do the buzz, see if you get the beat.
But as the saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, well... Now, what's he doing to make that sound?
I'm doing two things at once. Firstly, I'm just singing normally. And then I'm also buzzing my lips together, pushing air through my lips. And you do them together.
It turns out that it is possible to put out a flame with an amplified human voice. Of course, we can't leave it there. On the tails of that success, I think we should set up a bigger flame and some bigger speakers and put John to the test.
With mission accomplished on the candle, it's time to turn up the heat to record-breaking proportions.
This is our next test bed to try and put a fire out with sound or a voice. This is simply propane that you'd hook up to your barbecue. It's really simple.
To put out a 4-foot flame like this, they're going to need to go for broke with some monster loudspeakers.
This is perfect for any home theater system.
These speakers should blast the low-frequency noise out so loudly that the air molecules vibrate more violently, causing a greater air current. But will this wind current be strong enough?
We're going to kind of supersize it here. We've got a much bigger flame, much bigger speakers. We'll see whether we can get the same effect.
It's back to the booth for our beatbox bassist. Blowing raspberries in the name of science. Try as he might, even at a whopping 146 decibels, Jonathan's raspberries are no match for the bigger burn.
I think it's time to move on to tones. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Roger, it's all up to you now. You ready?
Ready?
Armed with $80,000 worth of audio equipment, is there anything Roger can do to put out this fire? He works his way through the frequencies and cranks it up to a bone-jarring, painfully loud 155 decibels. But even that can't put out the fire.
There's stuff falling off of the ceiling.
So far, I'm not seeing anything in any of our experimentation that yields or seems to yield a practical firefighting technique.
But Jamie's got one last idea.
We're going to give it one last shot. We've reconfigured the speakers so they're more or less coming at the flame in one wall. Frankly, we're a little baffled. We don't know what else to do.
Will the V formation be V for victory? Roger cranks up the bass and Adam's on his hands and knees praying for a sweet spot. It's less about intricate planning and more about trial and error. But suddenly...
Oh my God.
It's a red-letter day for science, because at 55 hertz and a room-shaking 149 decibels, they've achieved a world first. No one has ever put out a fire of this size with sound until now.
This is yet another in a long line of cases in which I completely didn't expect the result we got at the very end of the day. Everything we'd done up until we got that flame to go out was telling me not going to happen. Difference between a candle and a real fire is significant, and we were not going to get any positive results, and we did. That's stunning. I love being wrong.
But it's not over yet, because before this myth is extinguished, there's an explosive twist to the tale. In Voice Fire Extinguisher, Adam and Jamie have something to shout about. They've just used amplified sound waves to put out a record-sized flame. So, where does that leave the myth?
Are we ready to call this one?
I think based on what we've gotten so far, yeah. I think Charles Kellogg's original claim, the source of our myth, that you can put out a fire with an unamplified human voice, is totally busted.
And yet, like any good myth, there is an element of truth here.
No, I could not believe the results we got when our singer was able, although amplified, to put out that candle with his voice.
Yeah, and with a tone generator and a truckload of amplifiers and speakers, we were able to put out a pretty good-sized flame, which is really impressive.
And yet I don't feel like we can let this one rest here.
Well, what about explosives? I mean, sound's a pressure wave, and explosives create a pressure wave. And as far as I know, they actually put out oil rig fires with explosives.
Sold. Let's do it.
Okay.
The MythBusters have used explosives for just about every occasion. From redecorating a house, to adding a touch of flair to an 1812 overture. And now they're going to use them to fight fires.
Once again, we find ourselves at the Alameda County Bomb Range. JD, Frank Doyle are helping us out. We're going to try and put out a fire with explosives.
In other words, they're going to fight fire with firepower, a technique that was developed to put out arguably the most dangerous infernos of all, oil well fires.
This technique was made famous by the late Red Adair, who's probably the most famous firefighter ever. He put out over 2,000 fires in his career. The guy was amazing.
But how exactly did he do it? Well, that's perfect territory for the MythBusters, and the logical extension of their firefighting with sound investigation.
Sound is nothing but pressure. In the case of a sound wave, we've got repeated cycling of this pressure wave over and over again to create something that you hear. The theory of using an explosive to put out a fire is that the single pressure wave the explosive creates removes all of the oxygen from the fire so it can't burn.
To put this theory to the test, the first thing they're going to need is a fire, and that's Jamie's department.
This flame rig works by pressurizing a tank full of gasoline. It simply pushes the gas out the bottom of the tank, down the pipe and out the nozzle. We have gasoline coming out here, and we've got an ignition source here, which is just a neon transformer that's being shorted across the two lines there, so it makes a spark jump.
Okay, systems check in 3, 2, 1. That worked perfectly. Was that beautiful or what? Look at that thing.
Yeah, it doesn't get much neater than that.
With the fire rig fired up, Adam works on an explosives delivery system.
We have to deliver an explosive charge to a fire, and the fire is going to have a potential to want to make that explosive charge go off before we intend it to go off. So rather than have it placed here when our fire is going, we're going to have it way back there until we're ready, till we're all set. Then we go. We pull it in here, and that's when we detonate it.
Sounds like a plan. And first up for the fire in the hole test is black powder, a low-velocity explosive.
Are we ready?
We are ready. This is the burrito. The black powder burrito.
With the black powder burrito in place, it's time for the three amigos to hunker in the bunker.
Okay, are we set?
Yeah. This is for real.
Okay, black powder test. I'm going to go ahead and ignite now.
Fire, we have fire.
Okay, it's all yours, Adam.
Okay, pulling in.
Ignition.
We're in place, go. Beautiful! That worked perfectly! That could not have gone better.
The fire rig and explosives delivery system work like a charm. But for fighting fires, they'd have been better off using black magic than black powder. Because as the high speed shows, the post-boom flame is burning as strong as ever. So they'll have to try again with something that has a little more bang for their buck.
That's fun!
At the bomb range, the MythBusters are trying to put out fires with explosives. I'll let Adam explain why.
We have already tried putting out fires with sound. We started out with our voice. Then we moved on to sound generating equipment. Now we're trying explosives. We have already tried black powder to put out fires. Now we're going with high explosives. The throughput here, the key point that travels through all these experiments, is attempting to use waves, either sound waves or shock waves, to put out fire.
And next up in this thread, it's the MythBusters' favorite.
We've used high explosives a number of times on the show. Exploding safe, exploding pants, and then there, of course, is the granddaddy of them all, which was 22,000-foot fall.
The 1,000 pounds of high explosives triggered not only the biggest blast in MythBusters history, but also, rather alarmingly for this test, set the surrounding hillside ablaze. Now, in a reversal of fate, Jamie and Adam want to know if the same ingredients can be used to put out fires.
That's high explosive, huh?
That is a high explosive.
Wow. It looks more like a taco.
So why would high explosives work when low explosives failed?
Is there a real qualitative difference between a high explosives shockwave and a low explosives shockwave?
Oh, very definitely. A high explosive shock wave is much more intense. It's more of a wall. It has more push and more speed.
It's that push, that immense pressure wave, that should apparently be able to extinguish the flame. Once again, they'll be using the explosives delivery system so that the charge will arrive in the fire at the precise moment. And after a quick reset,
Electric's good to go.
they're ready for blast number 2.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole!
This is Can We Put Out a Fire with High Explosives? 3, 2, 1, go.
There
We
it
got
is.
fire.
Okay.
Taking out spark.
Spark
Moving
off.
explosives into position. It's in. And firing. Wow! Oh, that was awesome! Woo!
For Jamie's fire, it was a boom of doom. It's been completely and utterly extinguished.
The thing we were looking for here is, did the explosive create a pressure wave that removed the oxygen from the flame and cut it off? And we got that. We saw it. It put the fire out.
The high explosives sure did the trick. By removing the oxygen, they suffocated the fire. But as a firefighting technique, Jamie spotted an obvious flaw.
It's not something you want to put out a fire in your house with, or you'll remove your house. You don't want to put out a fire on your car just because you happen to have some firecrackers in the trunk. This is a very specialized thing that works sometimes if it's set up exactly right.
So what do you think? Was the fire big enough? I think so.
Well, talk about fighting fire with fire.
We were able to put out a fire with explosives.
I gotta say, this one has carried us very far afield, but it's been some of the most fun experiments I think we've ever done.
And it was pretty high up there on the don't try this at home list, wasn't it?
Absolutely.